Speakers.
Yes.
So I'm going to go ahead then with a few housekeeping items, and then I will be doing Chad's introduction and share a little bit of information and turn it over to him, because I know this evening you are not here to listen to me and a few housekeeping items for the club. You are here because Reef Nutrition is amazing. Chad Clayton is amazing, like all capital letters. And then at the very, very end, we have a raffle, but you must be present to win. So I'll cover that. And Chad has agreed, and I'll say this at the end of the announcement. If you have questions during as we go through, jump in. He will answer questions on the fly as well as at the end. And I redid my notes so that they're in more coherent order. Since our last meeting, we do have additional sponsors that have been approved. I forgot to write the list down, so refer to the club website in the forum. The holiday potluck party, I can't believe that's been a month, but that was, and the raffle was an amazing success. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you for enjoying that cake. In fact, the cake video is already our second most popular video ever. Although this one's going to give it a run for the money because I'm so excited.
Yeah.
We had 2 winners for our photo of the month in December. Hans is here. Yay! Oh, I'm supposed to use user ID. H. Nerd
Fine.
was the winner of the $50 gift certificate. And the winners get their choice of whichever sponsor, and we don't tell which sponsor they pick so that we don't ruffle any sponsors' feathers. And then we also had a giveaway for voting, and that was donated by Flipper. Flipper had a Flip Pick mobile phone aquarium camera filter kit, and that went to user ID Mayhew. Woohoo! So congratulations to both of you for December. January voting is open now for photo of the month, so please go vote. The random prize giveaway is going to be a bottle of AB Plus from Red Sea, as well as a Red Sea branded aluminum water bottle. So it's good for the environment because it's reusable, right? Let's not use the plastic bottles that are one time and disposable. Let's instead be kind to the environment and support Red Sea. And it is open that you can submit your photos for next month's contest so that we can vote on you next month. We had, moving to the next topic, we had a lot of good feedback from you guys on what you liked and didn't like when we were holding meetings hybrid through both Zoom and in person at the different local fish stores. So thank you for that feedback, and we heard you. So we are switching to Zoom only during the week, once a week, and Saturday gathering hours. So this coming Saturday is our first gathering hour. So we're getting back to our roots. We're going to, this first one, we're going to one of the new sponsors I mentioned at the very beginning. The Coral Station is a brand new store. Coral, they had their soft opening this past Saturday. And for 1 hour this coming Saturday, they're going to hold over all of those specials, which include, and Chad, you probably know this, but sponsor of the week, our sponsor that we're calling out this week does happen to be Reef Nutrition, and they are 25% off this coming Saturday again, and that is noon to 1 o'clock. And then at 1 o'clock is when I will do the raffle, and it's free to enter the raffle. And let's see, sponsor of the week, we did that. Oh, and if you go to the website, you'll see all the different sponsors of the week. We have so many sponsors. Our club is so lucky and feeling so very blessed. Sponsors of the week actually wrap into January, I think, of next year. So, woohoo! And then
Awesome.
This evening, we have $100 gift certificate from generously being donated by Reef Nutrition. But you must be present to win. So don't leave.
That's mine, everybody.
I'll try, Sonia.
No, you need to log off before the raffle.
Yes, Chad doesn't know how incredibly lucky this is. But let me shift out of housekeeping mode because I know you don't want to hear about any of the housekeeping stuff. And that does wrap that up. And let me share a little bit about Chad. And before I get into this, so before I was on the board, Chad came and he was a guest speaker. And I had tremendous problems listening to that recording. In fact, I never saw him that night. But at some point, Rex was helping me out interactively on the side. So at some point, I could at least hear him through the phone. And Chad changed my life, my fish's life. These pod cultures are as a result. So those of you that are like, oh, Lisa and pod, no. It comes from Chad. He is the master. He is the pod god. And I am just beyond excited to be here. And so let me share a little bit of information he shared with me that I can share with you guys. So Chad got into the aquarium hobby when he was 14 and quickly realized he wanted to pursue a career in the aquatics profession. 4 years later, he moved to Florida to start his journey at Florida Institute of Technology. In 1997, after graduating with a degree in marine biology and another in aquaculture, he couldn't wait to start his career. He has worked in a few different sectors of aquaculture since then and has successfully bred over 40 species of marine fish and invertebrates. His professional background includes molecular biology research with the zebrafish at Washington University School of Medicine in St. Louis, Missouri, commercial marine ornamental aquaculture at Oceans Reef and Aquarium in Fort Pierce, Florida, and food fish aquaculture at the former Kona Blue Water Farms in Kona, Hawaii. This experience and education has led Chad to his current position at Reef Mariculture, where after 13 years, you look so young, this is crazy. He is working primarily with copepods. Aquaculture has and always will be a big part of his life. He currently lives in Santa Cruz, California, on the lovely Monterey Bay with his wife and 2 children. Camping, gaming, and World War II history are a few of his favorite things. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chad. Thank you so much for coming and sharing with us this evening. Thank you. Thank you.
Right on. Thanks for the introduction. Yeah, I've had quite a career in aquaculture, and it's led me to Reef Mariculture, and I'm happy to say this is the longest I've ever been at a job, and it's great. And I look forward to many more years with Reed. So if you can allow me to share my screen, I will put up this little presentation I have. It's a little PowerPoint, and I'm kind of going to go over our company and a lot of our products, and feel free to interrupt throughout. Don't worry about interrupting me throughout this conversation or this presentation.
Are you able to put it up? I'm not
Yep.
sure I have any restrictions. Okay.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to. So, all right. Can you see that? You're good?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Here we go. All right. So yeah. So Reef Nutrition is a brand. It's a line of products, and it is owned by a company called Reef Mariculture. We are a multi-million-gallon phytoplankton facility in Silicon Valley, California. So we're in the San Jose, California area. We primarily grow algae so that people that don't want to grow algae can buy it from us. It's kind of like buying the milk and not the cow kind of thing. And so let me get into some of the details on who we are. So we are the world's largest producer of marine microalgae concentrates. Our instant algae larviculture feeds are used all over the world: hatcheries, universities, marine ornamental operations, anything from oyster farms, shrimp farms, clam farms, fish farms, researchers that are studying, doing analysis on phytoplankton cells, whether they're looking at, different components like vitamins, sterols, proteins, things like that. A lot of these people, instead of growing the algae, growing all these different species and growing them in the abundance that they require, they prefer to just buy it from us. Most of our algae, except for Phytofeast Live, is non-viable. So the cells are not alive. They're no longer going through cellular fission. And so they are fully intact and make a good food source. Even though they're not alive, animals will still consume them. In 2004, we entered the home aquarium market because we had a lot of people reach out to us and say, look, I've got things like, non-photosynthetic corals. I've got bivalves, certain species of clams and oysters that require feeding. Many of us are familiar with these animals. These are animals that we know require multiple feedings throughout the day, small particle feedings, and ones that are nutritious. And so PhytoFeast was our flagship product. This is a product we came out with to kind of satisfy some of those things that people were calling us and requesting from us. PhytoFeast, I'll talk about it later, is our microalgae blend. It's what we're famous for. And from there, the product line has blossomed into many other liquid suspension foods and even our dry food TDO and a myriad of other products to support breeders and things like that. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about our algae real quick here. So density matters. So Nano 3600, this is a genus Nanochloropsis, a very common algae species. It's a green algae, very commonly aquacultured throughout the world. Even a lot of hobbyists tend to work with this one because it's hardy, it's easy to work with. And so what you're seeing here is a 1 quart bottle of our Nano 3600. And in this 1 quart, so it's almost a liter, is enough algae that is the equivalent of 3,600 liters of a live culture, 100 million cells per milliliter. And so imagine, 3,600 liters, that's almost 1,000 gallons. Imagine condensing that down into 1 liter bottle. That's what we bring to the hobby. That's what we bring to aquaculture. You cannot achieve densities like this by just growing a live culture. And so it's something that we're very good at. We're good at separating the cells from the media and concentrating it and making sure all the cells are fully intact. A lot of quality assurance, quality control that we work with on these guys, taking samples, looking at cells, making sure everything looks good. And so yeah, that's kind of what we bring to the plate. It's very unique in the world. We're the only ones that are really doing this on the scale. And it's really helped to accelerate aquaculture in many ways.
That's really cool. Can you?
Yeah.
What's the shelf life on that?
Oh.
So what was the first question?
What's the shelf life on that?
Oh, Drex, yeah. So Nanochloropsis is an awesome algae cell because it has a very durable cell wall, which means we can freeze it. And so we freeze this, and Nanochloropsis can remain fully intact as a cell, a non-viable cell, for up to 3 years at freezer temperature. So we're talking, 32 to 39 degrees Fahrenheit. And so it's just remarkable that can happen. And, after 2 years, you can feed this algae to your animals and they wouldn't know the difference. They wouldn't know that it had been in a freezer for 2 years.
So you can do like a cube, freeze it in ice.
Yes.
Ice trays.
Absolutely. So what a lot of the breeders do that use algae to culture rotifers on small scale is they'll take the algae, they'll pour it, they'll thaw it. First, you want to thaw it in the refrigerator. It's important to thaw it in the refrigerator for 24 hours because the thawing process needs to be very slow and not dramatic. You don't want to put a frozen bottle of Nano into incredibly hot water because it won't thaw properly and you may get a lot of cells that are ruptured. And so we always recommend thawing in the refrigerator. Once it's thawed, you can, invert the bottle a couple of times, make sure everything's nice and homogenized. And then, yes, you would make aliquots, which are even portions. And so ice cube trays are perfect for that. And then you can use it as you go. So you can thaw out the ice cube in the refrigerator 24 hours in advance of needing it. And then after that, you want to feed that that liquid, that thawed out portion within a few weeks. So basically the preservation here, the preservative is temperature. And that's across the board for all of our products. We do add some salts and things like that to keep things from bacterial invasion and pH, controlling pH. We also use sodium alginate, which helps to keep the cell suspended. It's a thickening agent that's used in food. It's all food grade stuff. So these are my bosses here, Tim and Lynn Reed. They're a husband and wife duo. I work for a family. We're about 20 employees. Some of our employees are satellite employees that don't even work at the farm. I would say the majority of us are involved with day-to-day operations, and then the rest of us are customer service representatives and shipping coordinators and packing boxes, things like that. So we're, we're not a large company, but we do a lot of big things, and we're really good at automating things and building in efficiencies and things like that. So we can do a lot with few people. And so Tim and Lynn are like, they're like family to me. They treat us all like family. It's a great company to work for. And then there's Ed, Tim's dad, who passed away last year. And he was working for the facility. He's a shareholder. He's invested money into his son's operation and just supported us wholeheartedly and really helped us build our infrastructure. So we really miss Ed, and we really loved that guy. So yeah, like I said, it's a family, and so we're all kind of invested in each other and the company.
All right,
so
Y'all do awesome work, man.
I appreciate that.
Is there, can you say anything more on how it's concentrated? I mean, there may be industry secrets there, but
yeah, it's funny because what we're doing with algae is not new. It's just the scale that we do it on is something that's very unique. So there's proprietary stuff within that, but we just use centrifuges to separate the algae cells from the growing media.
okay.
And that's actually a common technique used by phytoplankton growers that want to separate the cells from the media. So
I mean, I know in biology that's how it's done, but the
Yeah.
hard part is not lysing the cells, not breaking them with the pressure.
Exactly. Even people that take blood samples that do, phlebotomists and people that study your blood, they do these same things. Put the blood in a little vial, they put it in a centrifuge, spin it down, then they take their sample and take a look at what's going on, because it's all about concentrated samples. So yeah, pretty simple stuff. And then after we harvest it, we reconstitute it and package it.
Cool.
So this is a refrigerator at one of our distributors. So we sell through distributors, retail stores. We sell direct. We have aquarium maintenance companies that use our products and sell to their customers. So there's a variety of ways to access our products. And this is just one view of a refrigerator, just absolutely chocked full of our products, getting ready to go out to retail stores. So this is something that you would see at DFW, they're one of our most popular, most successful distributors. So we'll get into the products and interrupt as we go. So Tigger Pods, this is our most famous product. Most people know us for this versus our phytoplankton. Tigger Pods are Tigriopus californicus copepods. These are live copepods. We pack about 3,000 per bottle. These guys are all commercially grown at our facility. We don't harvest anything from the wild. We initially got our starter cultures actually from the wild. We were able to get permits, go out and collect, and bring these guys in and start domesticating them. And so we've been culturing this animal for, over 15 years now. And we have fully domesticated them to our aquaculture systems. They are used to the seasonality issues that we face. We grow these guys in greenhouses, so there is no climate control. And so we're at the mercy of the climate, and we do our best to, combat the extremes. So extreme cold and extreme heat. And these guys have, after thousands of generations, have really become acclimated, accustomed to reproducing and growing in an aquaculture setting.
I can second that. I had an outdoor culture, survived the Texas summer just fine. Not so much the winter, but the summer. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, and it's interesting, Tigriopus californicus, their natural habitat is from Alaska all the way down to the Baja Peninsula in Mexico. And so they are found in splash pools from Alaska all the way down to Mexico. And there are just isolated populations. There are populations that ebb and flow. There's extinctions. There's replenishment. There's all kinds of crazy stuff going on in the tidal zone, as many of you can imagine. And these guys don't even live in the tidal zone. They live in the splash pool. So where they live, requires large waves to splash fresh salt water into their ponds. And so they really don't have any natural predators. There is no pelagic environment. They're in little pools in rocks, and they don't really have a lot of predators. Some of the predators that have been found to consume Tigriopus are amphipods. Many of us know these guys. They're kind of ubiquitous in the aquarium hobby. Amphipods are those big shrimp-like critters that have arched backs and kind of scurry all over the place on your rocks, and your macroalgae and things like that. So there's been research that has found, amphipods doing really well and tiggerpods not doing well in one pond, and then you see another pond that has no amphipods, and the tiggers are doing fine in there. So it's interesting. And also I just wanted to address the cold water myth. I know that this has kind of been going around the hobby for years and years and years, and cold temperature has nothing to do with their success or failure in an aquarium. It's typically due to predation and environment. You know, those are some of the reasons why Tigriopus californicus don't really persist in an aquarium. And one of the main reasons why we grow these guys is, you know, people have fish that require live feed organisms. The Mandarin dragonet is a famous one. We started taking bottles of tiger pods to pet stores all over the US and feeding them to Mandarin dragonets in stores right in front of the owners. And people were pretty impressed. They were like, these guys don't eat anything. We can't feed them anything. And then they started using these copepods and they started having success, you know, having more, you know, these mandarins for longer. And you know, the mandarins were healthier, they were doing better. And, you know, and eventually you can train a mandarin to eat dead things. And so they've been very helpful in many ways. And here's a little video of kind of give you an idea of what the bottle looks like and, you know, how many we pack. You know, it's just thousands and thousands. These bottles are full of females carrying eggs, juveniles, males and females courting, you know, mating, literally mating in the bottle. And, you know, and there's juveniles all the way up from the 300 micron range up. And so you've got a great representation here of young and sexually mature adults. And what's interesting about these copepods is they go through 12 different stages of development. They start through 6 stages of nauplii, which are like a larval phase, and then they go through a metamorphosis, and then they start to look more like the adult that they'll eventually end up as. And then reproduction is basically one mating occurrence. The females store the sperm and they fertilize their own eggs as needed, and they really don't mate with another male after that. And then you can see there in that image in the top right corner, that's a female carrying a cluster of eggs. They just carry the embryos until the embryos mature and hatch right off that cluster. And actually the cluster is attached to a segment on the animal on the female that is depositing eggs into that cluster ongoing. And then you can see here the male, that bottom left corner, you can see the males have a little bit of a modified antennae. They have little hooks on their antennae so that they can hook onto a female, you know, onto her exoskeleton and those little folds on their exoskeleton, because, you know, these are crustaceans. They're related to lobsters and shrimps and crabs, things like that. So the males have modified antennae, they hook on, and then once they reproduce, they're out of there and they find the next female. And life goes on.
I got a question. So why do you believe there's no natural predators in the wild? I would assume there would be, but it seems weird that there wouldn't be.
Yeah, so the only way that a predator could potentially get into one of these splash pools is by massive wave action. So let's say maybe a fish gets splashed into one of these pools. It's going to wipe out these tiger pods pretty quick. And that would be catastrophic for that little population. And the same with amphipods. But most of the ponds I have visited and seen myself, there's nothing in there but these animals. And then, you know, and then microalgae and, you know, things growing on rocks, bacteria, but there's literally nothing else in there. And you don't even really see birds feeding in ponds.
So I was thinking that there have to be like small fish in there or something that would work their way in there, but that's okay. That seems weird.
Yeah, the fish would literally have to be launched from the tidal zone into one of these splash pools. And I have never once seen a fish in one of these splash pools. And I'm sure once, you know, if some of these get caught up in the waves and get taken out into the tidal zone, into the coastal zone, they're doomed. They're going to get eaten by something pretty quickly. So yeah, the splash pools are basically a safe haven for them. And also that red coloration is interesting. What they do is they consume phytoplankton and bacteria and organic waste, and they take the pigments that they get from the phytoplankton and convert them to a red carotenoid called astaxanthin or something similar to that. And that red carotenoid helps to protect them from oxidative stress. It's almost like they're tanning themselves. And turns out that carotenoid is very nutritious. And it's something that that copepods are very good for, is having carotenoid composition, because carotenoids are an antioxidant. They're also a pigmentation enhancer. So they're really great for larval fish. They're great for adult fish. And it's something that we took to the next level with our dry food TDO, and I'll talk about that later. So here's the other pod that we came out with, Apex pods. These guys are about the third the size of the tiger pods. They're from a completely different area of the world. They're mostly equatorial. So we're talking northern Brazil all the way up into the Carolinas and everywhere throughout. The islands, they're in Cancun, they're in the Bahamas, they're in the Florida Keys. They're all along the Gulf of Mexico, in Mexico, they're in Panama and the northern countries there in South America. So this animal has a wide distribution range. It's incredibly hardy, which is why we like working with it. It doesn't need to be fed live algae, which is awesome. But this animal tends to do better at populating a reef tank. They reproduce faster, and they're also smaller, and they don't store that red carotenoid, so they're not as conspicuous. And so this is one, if you're looking for an animal to populate a tank, you're setting up a new, you're doing a new build, you want to get some zooplankton in there for the long term, this is your best bet. And so this is an animal that I just recently have expanded production because of the demand has been pretty high. And so they're not available in many places right now, but they're going to be. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with Tisbee pods. This one is very similar to a Tisbee pod in size, nutrition, and it's still a great live food source for mandarins.
Is it related to the freshwater cyclops? It looks just like one.
So the cyclopoid order of copepods, there are freshwater and saltwater and estuary varieties. And in fact, this species, Apocyclops panamensis, is found in freshwater, estuary, and full saltwater. And there's also cyclopoid copepods in the Great Lakes, rivers and streams all over the US.
Okay.
Yeah, and the only thing about this one is, how you ticker pods, you can find them in a refrigerator in your local fish store, because cold temperature they can tolerate cold temperatures. So we use it to our advantage. We can pack more pods in a bottle because at cooler temperatures, there's more oxygen in the bottle. So that's pretty much why you see them in an aquarium store, in a local fish store, held that way. And also a fish store can hold them longer because they're slowed down metabolically. So they're not consuming the oxygen. They're not consuming all of their energy reserves. So a store can hold on to them for a few weeks before they sell them to a hobbyist. Whereas these guys, they cannot tolerate refrigerator temperatures for more than 3 days. It just kills them. So this is an animal that you would find at room temperature on a counter at the register. It would need to be sold pretty quick within a week. And I do put live algae in here with these guys. I put live Nanochloropsis in here so they have something to eat before they are, tossed into an aquarium.
So Chad, you may not realize this, but your camera for yourself to see yourself is turned off, which maybe is your intent since you're also screen sharing. But I was asked to mention that to you.
Yeah, I think it maybe does that automatically when I screen share.
Okay, that's fine.
I hope that's okay.
It is completely fine.
You don't get to see my face, but yeah, get to see the images. Cool. Okay, it's good to know. I had no idea. Thanks for whoever that was.
Do the apex pods lay resting eggs?
No, they don't. So you can see here's a female, and instead of holding onto one cluster, they hold on to 2 clusters. That's a good question, because these copepods are in an order called cyclopoid, and the tiggerpods are in an order called harpacticoid. These are copepods that are primarily benthic. They dwell in substrate. They dwell in rocks. They live on mangroves, all kinds of stuff. They are not an out in the open ocean animal. They don't do that. And so you can see they have developed strategies to be a coastal animal and successfully, produce progeny and, and pass on their genes and keep their populations going. And so, yeah, the females carry 2 clusters of eggs, as you can see here. And then there's an image of a nauplius. As you can see, they look nothing like the adult version. And again, they go through 12 different stages of development, very similar to Tigriopus, to tiggerpods. This is also an animal that's really good for marine ornamental aquaculture, feeding to larval fish and things like that. So we'll get into the phytofeast. So phytofeast is our 6-species blend, a 6-species blend of phytoplankton. We basically just tossed everything we grow into this bottle to provide the immense variety that's required by animals consuming phytoplankton in an aquarium, whether it's sponges, oysters, non-photosynthetic corals, animals like that, where not just one species of algae is going to be beneficial, but multiple species of algae. because what a lot of people don't know is that each individual species of algae that we work with has a completely different nutritional profile from one to the other. And so we go with that. That because the variety is huge. Variety is the spice of life in many ways. And so feeding multiple species of algae to your animals is the way to go. And that's why we just have this product. You know, we don't sell single species algae products except into aquaculture for people that maybe need a diatom for their oysters or for their clams, something very specific. But when it comes to the aquarium, you know, to an aquarium, the needs are very general. And so it's great to have these species. There are millions of species of phytoplankton on the planet. And these are just some that have been discovered by researchers and people in aquaculture that work for the animals that they work. You know, these common things like food oysters, food shrimp, things like that. So we just went with that and basically threw everything in the kitchen sink, so to speak, in the bottle. And this is the most concentrated phytoplankton product you will find in the US market, in the hobby, actually anywhere in the world that anybody else that sells algae into the hobby in the world, nothing else competes with this. This is 20 to 40 times as concentrated as any other product out there. And so what you're getting from us is more algae, more biomass for your money. And I just wanted to touch base real quick on the labels here. We do specify directions, feeding directions, so it's there on the bottle. We also talk about our best buy date. You know, we have what we call as a best buy date. So if your product is approaching that best buy date of, let's say, 9 months with PhytoFeast, it looks the same as it did from day one. It smells fine. You can continue to use it beyond that best buy date. We're very conservative with our shelf life estimates. And then you can see we're pretty transparent about ingredients, guaranteed analysis, and you know, there's more information that you can find on our website. And with all of our products, refrigeration, except for the Apex Pods, Reef refrigeration is basically the main preservative. That's what keeps this product fresh and stable. And then this is kind of an image that gives you an idea. We basically went out and bought all of our competitors' blended algae products and compared them to ours. And as you can see, you know, it's just, there's really no comparison. We are 20 times as concentrated as our top competitor. And the cost per gram is only 45 cents with ours, whereas our competitors it's over $9 a gram for some of them. So there's just really no competing against it as far as other brands out there. All right, oyster feast. So this is our top coral invertebrate food. Basically, every invertebrate that filter feed.
I got a quick question.
Go ahead.
Feast. So you sell two different versions, the live and the, I guess, dead.
Yes.
So like, so for the live stuff, I mean, is there a disadvantage of using the non-live version in your tank, or is there? I mean, I guess there's a similar difference in price or whatever, and the shelf life or the date on it is much shorter on the live stuff. But I've always wondered, like, is it worthwhile? Is the dead stuff just as good as the live stuff, essentially? But I would think no, but I don't know.
You know, this is an interesting subject because there's a lot of anecdotes out there on live versus dead Phyto, and a lot of our competition has harped on some of this stuff. We consider phytoplankton as food. And so the dead phytoplankton, the live phytoplankton, animals are consuming it, they're getting nutrition. That's pretty much where we like to end it. But there's a segment of people that, you know, say, look, I feed live phyto to my tank. It reduces nitrates, it reduces phosphates, and we're talking significantly. And it also outcompetes nuisance algae. And there's people that make these claims that this is happening. And while a lot of it is believable, because I hear it from more than just, you know, a handful of people, I also hear from people that say, look, I tried live Phyto for months and months and months, and it didn't improve anything. And it goes back to the root cause thing in the hobby. You know, find the root cause. If you've got high phosphates, why do you have high phosphates? Not how can I fix my phosphates? Why do you have high phosphate? And you know, instead of relying on some live phytoplankton cell to solve all of your problems, And in many cases, it may not be the solution for you. And so we sell a PhytoFeast Live because it's something that we make fresh every week. It has viability. So the cells are alive. They're not motile anymore because the ones that have flagella, they lose the flagella during our processes. But it doesn't mean they're not alive. We actually were sued by one of our competitors a long time ago on this exact subject. And we sent our product out to an independent lab and they were able to culture our phytoplankton from PhytoFeast. So the suit was dropped and life went on. So it does indeed have viability. You just won't be able to tell under a microscope. And there are some phytoplankton in this product like Nanochloropsis that has no motility at all. You're not gonna, it's a cell that's not gonna move whether it's alive or dead. So, to satisfy these people that believe that live is better, or they know for a fact that it's actually helping their water quality and outcompeting their nuisance algae, we have to, we supply a PhytoFeast Live for those customers. And so, I've talked with many people, even store owners, that tell me, look, live phytoplankton really made a difference in our system as far as nuisance algae and uptake of nuisance things like nitrate and phosphate. That's kind of the general answer on that.
Okay.
I believe it does reduce nitrates in my tank, but just secondary to that is I'm pretty certain, again, anecdotal, haven't scientifically tested this, but I mean, the live should last longer in the tank, if not eaten before decaying.
So that's another interesting thing to bring up, is that a dead algae cell is not going to decay. It takes days for it to decay or rupture or be invaded, because this is a cell wall that it's not like a thin thing that something can rupture as soon as it touches it. And so even dead phytoplankton in the system isn't going to stay in the system for long. It's going to be stripped out by filtration. We're talking after 24 hours. And also, when you put in live phytoplankton, the kind of phytoplankton that is sold into the hobby isn't the kind of phytoplankton that colonizes surfaces and grows in your aquarium. It's just not that. It's just not that way.
I was told, sorry, Chad, that it also helps keep your glass from algae buildup.
I've heard that as well, and I've also heard that it doesn't do that at all. And so that I think the problem is every tank biologically is different. We all have different bacterial populations, microalgae populations, coral. We have different animals. We have animals that in different parts of the world that, maybe somebody's getting all of their food, their corals from one person who goes through one collector in one part of the world, where maybe the microbiome is totally different from another collector's corals. And so, there's people that are looking at this closely, this microbiome. What bacterial populations are important to a reef tank? And, and people are discovering that maybe this is huge as far as reversing the tissue decay that happens in corals, these things that come about, and we're like, why is this happening? And so actually I had so my video was turned off. I'm going to turn it back on so you can see my face. But yeah, so it's interesting that there's all of this evidence out there, but proving it, making it so that it's a one size fits all, I think is going to be impossible.
Yeah, well, that's a good point, and probably a good selling point for probably what you were saying. Since your dead algae is not ruptured, right? So it won't decay. But if you were feeding like dried spirulina or something, it immediately starts to decay.
Right, exactly. Yep. Yeah, and and we always recommend, when it comes to our foods, just be conservative, because as we all know, adding anything that was alive or is alive, it brings with it, compounds that are common in life: phosphorus, nitrogen. These are all parts of living things. Ammonia, protein has ammonia, things like that. So yeah, it's basically what I tell people is if you're seeing issues feeding our concentrates or dead phytoplankton, then just back off on the amount that you're and be more conservative about it. Whereas with live phyto, so when you buy live phyto from somebody, there are so many fewer cells in that product that adding them to a system is virtually like adding hardly any biomass to the system. And so that's just something that is, is worthy to note. And I gotta tell you, people that grow live phyto and feed it to their reef tanks, into their systems, that's awesome. If you can grow live phytoplankton and feed it to your tank, that's a good thing. So, whoever's doing that, if you're here today, and you don't want to buy phytoplankton or phytofeast or anything like that, just keep doing what you're doing because it's good. Phytoplankton is good for a system. It's a good food source. So we've got oyster feast here. This is our top food for corals and invertebrates and filter feeders. These are just oyster eggs, very small particle size, chocked full of amino acids and fatty acids and all the things that are very stimulating to corals. This product is used widely by hobbyists, store owners, people that are spawning corals in captivity. So Jamie Craig's out in the UK at the Horniman Museum. He's spawning corals in captivity. This is part of the diet for those animals. Same with the Florida Aquarium and the Reef Track Restoration Program that are looking to rescue corals, keep them in cultures, and potentially restock the reef someday. So this is, if you're looking for a food to feed your corals, to, SPS, LPS, anemones, anything like that, this is your product right here. And then again, the label is full of information, and feel free to visit our website. And then we already talked about the PhytoFeast Live. Okay, so this is another.
Can I ask you a question? Sorry.
Yeah, sure thing.
As far as feeding, do you prefer trigger feeding or broadcast feeding with the
most people broadcast feed, and a lot of people will turn off their skimmer. They'll put it on feed mode. I even know people that will turn off their recirc pump and just let your corals, your animals soak in, you kind of marinate in this food to get maximum food consumption. And you can see it happen in real time. They do. I mean, you'll see polyp extension. You'll see the polyps coming out. You'll see polyps that are already open, consuming the oyster eggs and closing up. You can see all this in real time. And so those are kind of some strategies when feeding oyster feast. If you're a person that feeds your corals once or twice a week, maybe it's a good strategy to feed the tank, turn off the recirc pump, let the animals consume as much as possible within 30 minutes to an hour, and then fire everything back up. And then that way you've given your corals, your inverts, a good dense feeding that they can utilize to grow. Because as we all know, corals have mouths. They digest food. They have stinging cells where they kill things and eat them. And so it's feeding corals is great, especially if you're looking to grow them rapidly, like a store or a coral farmer. So what we have here is our roe. These are fish eggs. They're basically cod and haddock eggs. This is another egg product. Instead of oyster eggs, these are fish eggs. This one is kind of a crossover product. So you can get SPS corals to eat these all the way up to zoanthids and things like that. So this is basically, as far as popularity goes, you've got oyster feast, phytofeast, and then roe. And like I said, roe is a good one for fish and corals. And fish just love fish eggs. They just go crazy for them. And this is something that really helps to get fish to eat. So we have distributors and hobbyists, and store owners that will use roe to get, really finicky fish to eat, and then start introducing other food types. So finicky fish like anthias, certain anthias, Moorish idols, butterfly fish, things like that will, start eating these things, and then they will move on to other food types. Okay, we'll get into some of the other products. So RotiFeast, so these are rotifers. There's 5 million of them in a 6-ounce bottle. So we culture live rotifers at our facility. And the reason is because we sell live rotifers into aquaculture. So let's say you're a clownfish breeder and you want to start culturing rotifers, you can come directly to us for a live starter culture. And so what we do is we culture these guys on a very large scale. We harvest 20 to 30% every day. And so we're looking at, harvesting 750 million rotifers a day on average. And so whatever rotifers we have left over, we preserve them and we bottle them up and we sell them. So these animals are fully enriched with phytoplankton. They have a great fatty acid, protein, vitamin profile, great for SPS corals. And also we even know people that will feed these to clownfish broodstock that, they're looking to get that clownfish to breed. And I know people that will feed rotifers to their clownfish to get them in the mood, so to speak. This is something I've heard from some breeders. So this is a product that a lot of people with SPS will start using and really get attached to it. It's just one that's kind of not common in the hobby, but once people start using it, they really are loyal to this. Okay, so we'll get into some of the pods. So pack pods, this is one of our newest product. This is a cyclopoid copepod, so it's very similar to the Apocyclops panamensis, the apex pods. This cyclopoid is harvested from the Bering Sea, so we buy these guys from the fisheries up in Alaska. They harvest them out at sea, flash freeze them on board, and then we buy frozen packs and we've turned them into a liquid suspension product. This is an awesome product. As far as you want to talk about finicky fish and getting finicky fish to eat, this is a really good one. We've had store owners tell us, look, I get mandarins in, wild-caught mandarins, started feeding these pack pods, and these mandarins just gobble them up like crazy. And that's just a fantastic thing. And I've also seen, I recently got a pearl scale butterfly, and it wouldn't eat anything but these for a while, and then it started eating other things like TDO. But this was like one of the first foods. So copepods are a great source of nutrition. It doesn't really get much better than that. They're one of the most abundant animals on the planet. They synthesize things in their body, fatty acids, carotenoids that are highly nutritious to any animal that's consuming them. And even they're very similar to krill. Whales that feed on krill are consuming krill because of the nutritional profile, because of what they get from consuming that animal. And this is no different. And so copepods are just found in virtually every aquatic environment. Most of them are parasitic globally. And we don't work with those obviously because we don't want fish parasites in our systems, but the ones that we work with are not. And obviously these guys are not alive. So that's a good thing. So yeah, liquid suspension copepods. And again, it's just our product line is a great alternative to frozen and other feed types because it's just easy to use. You just need to refrigerate it, pop the cap, feed your animals, put it back in the fridge, and you're done. So Tigger Feast is another copepod product that we have. This is just basically whatever excess Tigger pods we have for the week when we're harvesting, we bottle them up and have created this product. So this is another great food for finicky fish, weaning mandarins onto something dead because it's alive. And this is basically roughly 53 bottles of Tigger pods in one bottle of Tigger Feast. So you're getting a lot of animals in this one bottle, and they're purely aquacultured. Nobody else in the world is doing this. And these guys have a 1-year best buy date, which is the longest of all of our products. And then I'll just go over these products really quick. Arctopods is another larger copepod, very similar in use to the other copepod products. I know it can be confusing. So honestly, if you just picked one and stuck with it, that'd be fine. Beta brine or Artemia brine shrimp, fully enriched. They're actually grown in Australia, and we buy them. They're fully enriched with microalgae. So they're more than just protein. There's fatty acid, there's carotenoid, there's vitamins and minerals in these guys. And then Mysis feast. These are just PE mysis from Piscine Energetics from Canada. And so what people like about these is there's no frozen aspect to them. They're already thawed, they're already rinsed, they're ready to go. Just simply feed your tank, put it back in the fridge, and you're done. And this is just what people love about one of the things that people love about our product lines. Mysis, are great for seahorses and a lot of other fish types. Brine shrimp, obviously, many of us have been using those for decades. And then the copepods are just an excellent food source in many ways. So this is kind of cool. This is a little bit of gives you an idea of how people are taking feeding to the next level. This is a guy who provided us with a schematic of a refrigerator that he actually built his stand around this refrigerator first, and then built the rest of it for the aquarium and all the filtration. And he runs his return line through the refrigerator. It's injected, all the food is injected via these GHL dosers into the return line. It's all Venturi, so it's all being sucked in literally and pushed into the main tank. And you can see here, you don't need to the products. Our products stay in suspension. You can just put a rigid tube down in the bottle and a silicone tubing attached to that, and just set it and forget it kind of thing. And this is great for people who are having a lot of anthias in their systems that require multiple feedings throughout the day, as well as corals, non-photosynthetic corals and things like that. So this, I found this to be very creative, and the
That's
GHL,
insane.
isn't it? Yeah, and the GHL dosers are great. I feed algae to my apex pods, and they can handle
Wow.
degrees. These GHL dosers, no problem.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Very cool.
Double as a chiller if you needed that too.
Right.
Right?
Exactly. Run a coil of pipe through that thing, and yeah.
Hmm.
Look, okay, so now we'll get out of the liquid suspension feeds and into our dry feeds. So we came out with a dry food about 10 years ago, because we wanted to provide more feeds into aquaculture, because we were already providing algae and live rotifers and culture systems to people, let's say, breeding clownfish. And we wanted a weaning diet. We wanted something that they could use to wean their fish off of live feed organisms onto something that's dead, and a prepared food. And once those animals are off of that, then you can just feed that prepared food. And then you can, get rid of your live cultures or put them on standby, so to speak. Because in aquaculture, the goal is to get your larvae through metamorphosis, feed them as much as possible with your live feed organisms, get them to the point where you can wean them onto a dry food and get them off of those live feed organisms as fast as possible, because it's really expensive to culture live feed organisms. It takes a lot of time and energy and money to do that. And so weaning, we found, was just something that was part of the equation. And so TDO is what we came up with. So this is a food that we buy from Japan called Otohime. It's a global fish hatchery diet being used in flounder hatcheries, sea bream hatcheries, sea bass hatcheries, you name it, all over the world. We brought it, we're the exclusive North American distributor. So we have a very good relationship with this company in Japan. And this company in Japan gets first dibs on most of the boats that are coming in with fresh ingredients. And so they've optimized their food with really good ingredients like krill, fish meal, squid meal. Those are like the top three ingredients in this product. And so what we did was we took this food that, we sell into aquaculture. So people that are growing food fish species, people that are growing, let's say, largemouth bass, panfish, perch, walleye, you name it, they're using this in their hatcheries, whether it's a government or a private institution. And so what we did was we took this to the next level. We did a study with Virginia Tech where we top dressed. So we coated this pellet with a freshwater species of algae that is rich in astaxanthin, because we were interested in getting a higher amount of red carotenoid into clownfish, the common clowns, Ocellaris percula, getting a more red carotenoid, a natural carotenoid, into those fish to enhance the pigmentation, make them look more natural wild type. Because in the ocean, many animals require food that helps with their pigmentation. It has to come from their diet. A classic example is flamingos. Flamingos have got to eat the shrimp that are eating the algae to get that coloration in their feathers. When you remove a flamingo from that environment and you remove that from their diet, they lose that color in their plumage. And and public aquariums and zoos have now gone to supplementing a flamingo's diet with red carotenoid, astaxanthin. There's other kinds of carotenoids out there that are very similar. So what we did was we maximized it with a study with Virginia Tech. They helped us out tremendously. The study's on our website. You can look it up. And the results were phenomenal. Ocellaris percula, amazing red coloration. The white bars on those animals, whether they're designer or wild type, look amazing. And it also provides a much more healthy boost to the animal. It reduces their risk of stress and disease. And we started offering this into the hobby to people with just aquarium fish and things like that. And they found that it was just, it was a great food. We've had people that said had lateral line and head erosion that was happening in tangs and other fish was receding, was stopping, was healing after chroma boost to those animals in many cases. And so you can see in this slide, this was a fish down in there. You can see it in the pipe, all yellow, lacking carotenoid in the diet. And then here's a fish a few weeks later after being fed TDO. That's the exact same fish, but now with wild type coloration. Because you can see there's a picture of an Ocellaris in the ocean in its native environment. and they are not yellow. They're not brown. They have that reddish orange color. So it's just remarkable what you can do with diet.
Wow, man, I'm going shopping tonight.
Kinds of people feeding this to their animals. Here's these fish, these file fish are just kind of like a holy grail file fish that, they mostly eat corals. And so for somebody to wean them onto a pellet like this and to see them eating TDO like this was just mind blowing. And, it just took, it did take a lot of training. It had to, they didn't just suddenly get to this point, but the fact that it can be done is just remarkable. And then you can see here, we've got some time lapse with corals. People are also target feeding it to their corals. Because TDO comes in a variety of sizes. It comes in a powder all the way up to a large pellet. And so it's useful for smallmouth corals, smallmouth fish, all the way up to the bigger fish. And you can pick and choose your variety pack. Here's garden eels. Somebody was feeding it in their store to garden eels. And as the pellets kind of roll along the substrate, you see the garden eel just scoop it right up. It's just remarkable. We were blown away by this. I have a customer that tells me their seahorses eat our pellets, and that they're going to send me video of a seahorse eating TDO. I can't wait to see that.
Wow.
Definitely going to put that in my slide if I get.
For sure.
And then here's the scalemia eating TDO. This is from Chad Boston. He's Boston Aquatics. He breeds sea urchins and works at Bulk Reef Supply. And it's just a really cool, you just see this reaction to the food, and they just gobble it right up. They recognize it as, as food. And we have some coral farmers that are switching over completely to TDO because they can offer it to every coral they have because of the different sizes that we offer. And it's nutrient dense. This pelleted food packs a punch. And so you don't really need to feed a lot of it to give your fish a good source of nutrition. And pellets are a great source, for a quick feeding or for weekends, vacations. You can put it in an auto feeder. So it's just really good to incorporate into the diet of your animals, even if you're feeding really nice frozen foods or our liquid suspension foods. It's always good to throw in a nutrient dense, high quality pellet to your animals to just give them an extra boost in nutrition. So here you can see it's being used in freshwater. Here's I forget the name of these guys. But yeah, you can see the before and after being fed TDO. There's a lot of growers, angel growers, tetras, things like that. People are loving this. Betta breeders. People that have plecostomus call it Viagra for those animals. It's just yeah, it's pretty. And so there's also people feeding it to poison dart frogs that are breeding frogs. They're like, this is the wonder food. Axolotls, salamanders, lizards. I know people that feed it to their chickens, and yolks turn red. It's just insane.
Wow. Sweet.
So we have a TDO feed chart, kind of, helps along, helps you out with, what eats what and what size is appropriate. We even have people feeding it to jellies, moon jellies. Larger moon jellies will consume TDO. So, so a lot of our information, our handouts, our cards, our, educational stuff is very useful. We have product that are very useful for people. Stores will carry these. We send these with every single order. So pretty useful. Come and see us at a show and we'll hand them out to you. And then we get into the breeder supplies. So I mentioned this, we offer supplies for breeders. Mostly people that are breeding clownfish are buying these things from us. Like we sell a sieve that helps you screen out the rotifers to separate the rotifers from the culture water. So you're not dumping in your rotifer culture water into your larval rearing system. We provide the algae so you don't have to grow the algae. Our G Complete is a microalgae blend with ammonia neutralizer and pH buffer. And then we have the RotiClean filter, which is great for keeping the culture homogenized and filtering out the waste. And then, we have the live rotifers and the weaning product. So if you're looking to breed fish or you're a current breeder and looking for better ways to grow rotifers or to wean your fish, we've got what you need. And also breeders have loved the TDO because they no longer have to hatch Artemia brine shrimp. They can completely skip that altogether.
I got on the RG Complete.
Yeah.
So that's for like rotifers and not like pods, right?
So you can feed it to pods as well. Tigger pods, apex pods will consume this, no problem.
Could it be replaced? Because doesn't that have like a much longer? Because I was feeding like the Phyto Feast to my pods or whatever. But I was thinking that this had a much longer shelf life or something. There was some benefit to this over like Phyto Feast, I thought. But
Yeah, this product, it has about a 4 to 6 month shelf life, but you can freeze this one. You can make little ice cubes with it and freeze it for a couple of years, or up to 2 years.
yeah,
Well, and since it contains those water quality stabilizers, it's also good for your culture. So, so yeah, you know, if you want to feed this to your pods, that, you know, do
but
it.
I've never seen that in a store. I've never seen it in a fish store.
Right.
So
And
that's,
yeah,
Yeah,
it is
okay.
not common in stores because it's just not, you know, people aren't breeding. A lot of people aren't culturing their own rotifers and co.
Right.
And so a store is likely to carry this. You know, we sell it direct. You can set up a subscription to get more affordable shipping. Saltwateraquarium.com also carries this product, and I think that they offer free shipping if you spend above a certain amount. So that's another way to purchase it. You can
30, 35, I think.
35. Okay. If you've got a fish store that's open to getting these things in, if they buy direct from us, then you can request them to put it on the next order. You could even prepay. You know, this is kind of like how people do fish.
No, I mean that's a good option because I've read about it before, and I remember it had the stabilizers for your water quality or whatever, and I was like,
Yep.
oh, it sounds like a good like a product. But it just seemed like it was geared towards rotifers, I thought. But
No, it's funny because in fact the Apex pods, I feed this exact same blend but more concentrated to my Apex pods. So if you want to culture the Cyclops, RG Complete is a good one.
okay.
So yeah, so we got testimonials on our website. Feel free to check out what people are saying, store owners, distributors, customers. We're all over social media. We've got an Instagram page, Facebook page. There's different ways to reach out to us through social media, through email, through tech support. We try to really promote our products and how people are using them and what people are saying about them. We don't really inject a lot of fluff into our Instagram page. And so it's all products all the time and how people are using them. So it's really been fun to be on social media. There's a lot going on out there. If you can stay in politics, you can have a good time. Okay, so I will stop
There it is.
so that we can
Awesome presentation, Chad.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys sitting through that. I'm sorry it took about an hour.
Oh no, dude, that was awesome.
You're
Appreciate
good.
So I currently
That was
use
excellent.
your oyster feast and your rotor feast for my SPS tank.
Yep.
And I usually feed twice a week, but I really like the stuff. But so I've been a long time user of it. So.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
Oh, and I'm going to do a plug also to combine the oyster feast with Phyto Feast. I had a flame scallop, which is actually, if you dig into flame scallop, it's not a scallop at all, it's clam.
Right.
But it turns out that they will not eat anything, even though they appear to be ingesting, they will pass it right back out. But only if there's Phyto in the water at the time you give them what they really need to be eating. So you must combine this with this. So to me, this is now a set, if you will. And so all my corals are also now benefiting as well because it's a more regular Phyto. I think this is the bomb.
I make my own food
Cool.
and I
Peanut
do
gallery.
add some additives, and that I'm going to start putting this in because it's all frozen. So whenever I break out a cube, let it just sweet.
Nice. I
like
can't
the
tell you how many
presentation,
people
man.
do that. A lot of people do that. They will combine our food in with their frozen concoctions to get a smaller particle size, a guaranteed small particle size, and guaranteed huge variety of nutrition to
Right.
not just feed to your larger corals and your fish, but to give food to those little guys, those little SPS corals and things like that. So it's a good one to add. And yeah, that's great. And yeah, Phyto Feast and Oyster Feast, that is the most common combination used by our customers and stores and distributors. They combine both particle size nutritional variety is men's. So, yeah.
Well, and I'm not limited there. I love your TDO. As you were introducing different things. Oh, look, Tanya's doing the same thing, holding her bottles up. Whoop, 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 whoop.
That's good. Spicy. Nice.
Wait,
Yeah, I think I want to try the TDO, the fine particle size for like SPS, just to see. Curious.
Yeah. So TDO-A, it's about 75 to 250 microns. So that's pretty much the size of a rotifer or a medium-sized copepod. And you mix that in with a little oyster feast or just a little tank water, and then target feed your colonies if you want, or just broadcast. What we hear from coral farmers that are using the TDO-A, which is the smallest size, is that it tends to stay in suspension a lot longer. Animals, have a better chance of consuming it and getting as much as they can before they start closing up and digesting, moving it on down to their their tissues. So yeah, that's one that we sell in 1 ounce packages, so little bitty packages, and we also sell it in a 3 ounce package with a little pour spout on there. And saltwateraquarium.com, if your local fish store won't get it in for you, because you can always request it. If they don't, you can always go to saltwateraquarium.com and buy that, because you'll get free shipping through them. Like I said, if you meet their minimum. Whereas we don't have a minimum, we don't offer free shipping because we don't want to compete against any of our retailers. Is the last thing we want to do. We'd much rather prefer you go to your local fish store and either demand they carry it or get it in for you, or there's other alternatives. So.
Yep.
And really the only reason
support the local.
Yep, and really one of the main reasons why we sell direct is because we sell products that local fish stores won't carry, like the Archie Complete and some of the other things. And there's also people that live in areas of the U.S. in the world that don't have a local fish store at all, or one that carries us, or one that kind of a good store. And so we have to make our products available online. Luckily, there's a whole world online, and there are people to bring you your packages. They may not always be reliable, but it's something. And so we always tell our retailers, look, we're sorry, but we just aren't in every store. And you know what? We're not really appropriate for every single store. There are stores that just don't want to or don't understand the management of perishable products, of food that needs to be refrigerated. That's something that's an extra added, level of experience and responsibility. So we're not in every store, so we make our products available online, and those are some of the main reasons.
But I bet if you hook up with Jason, the new store that just opened, he would be glad to hook you up, man.
Yep, go to Addison, get your coral station. Yeah, he's a great dude. We sent him a bunch of swag. He's buying our products from DFW Supply there, the distributor, and so he'll take good care of you. I'm sure he would be able to order you some specifics. And I'm actually going to send him a sampler pack of all of our TDOs so he can try it out, because right now he's only selling Reef Nutrition and frozen, but he's definitely interested in TDO after hearing me talk about it. So,
That's
and
awesome.
you know what? We do trade shows, so I highly encourage you to come see us. We're going to be in Dallas or Plano. I think it's in Plano. We're going to be in
Frisco.
Or Frisco. Sorry, Frisco. That's it. Yes, Frisco. We're going to be in Frisco this year, October, at Reefapalooza. So if you want to come see me, I tend to bring free stuff. So get there early, and maybe you can get a freebie, a sticker or whatever. So come see us in person. It'd be great to have any of you guys come visit. That'd be awesome. So right on.
Well, and your booth is so informative. There was so much to see and learn. Much different than a store, which has limited availability of seeing things. So it was really nice to be able to visit you at the last Reef of the Week.
Yep, that's a really good thing to bring up, is because even the stores that carry us, not all of them carry the entire line. Some stores only carry Tigger pods. That's it. Some stores carry all of it in all sizes. And so if you really want to see our entire product line, put your hands on it, put your eyes on it, hear me
Go to the show
about it, come to a show. And I'm glad that we're in Texas. It's awesome. I've always wanted to do shows in Texas. We're a big supporter of Reefapalooza. We're the platinum sponsor for the next 3 years. for all 4 shows. And so I'm
Sweet.
they came to Texas, stoked about that. So
Yeah.
yeah, come see us. Yeah, you know,
Yeah, because
plan
I've always wanted to go, but to travel, and they were all at Aqua Times. There was a show here that was happening, so I'm glad they came here.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Yeah, the only thing that's kind of tough about last year was there was the state fair was going on.
Texas OU weekend.
Yeah, there was
Yep.
that was going on. There was another show that was happening.
Aquashella was happening the same weekend.
So it was like, yeah, and Aquashella was up in Chicago. It was a nightmare. It was no good. So they changed everything this year. So hopefully we can get more attendees.
Yep. And they're going to bring speakers next year too. So, or this year.
Right. And I'm going to be speaking at Reefapalooza. I think I'm going to be speaking at the Texas one. So you'll get more of me.
Wait.
And I also love coming there because I get to go to the Dallas World Aquarium. That place is friggin' amazing.
Oh yeah. Paula.
Dude. Yeah. Paula's like, she's one of my best friends. And you know, that shoebill stork that they have there is just an oddity of all oddities.
Awesome.
There's never like that in my life.
Yeah. And if you hit her at the right time, she'll give you a tour of the back scene where all their filtration in that is. I'm like, wow,
We
that's
got that.
insane.
We got the full tour. I even got to see the lab where they were breeding fish, and you know, they're trying to breed the flashlight fish, which is just so cool.
Yes.
And their flashlight fish exhibit is just epic. It's like one of the best I've ever
Awesome.
seen. Yeah. And all the birds flying around and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Can't wait to go back.
Yep. Now we tried to do one of our events there, like do a frag swap, and they said no because it would be a chance of cross contamination.
Yep.
And we said, yeah. But she said there's a place next door that might rent a little spot for you guys. So it could happen.
It's good. Yeah. Biosecurity is important. You know, we're huge into biosecurity. Not only do we keep our farm location secret, because of all the proprietary things that we do.
Yeah, I bet.
And I jokingly call it Algae 51. It's just, we don't want any contaminants to come to our facility. I'm the head of the biosecurity, so we don't allow dogs. Nobody can bring a dog to our farm. You can't come to our farm if you've been to a public aquarium or you've been in the ocean or you've been fishing, you know, unless you've proven to me that you've changed your clothes and showered. And so we take it really seriously because contamination can bring a company to knees. It can ruin a company. And the shrimp industry, the food shrimp industry globally is a prime example. There's a disease called white spot disease, and you can look this up. It is insane. It ravaged shrimp production globally. It took a few years, but it wiped out people's livelihoods, wiped out entire shrimp farms within days. So the owners, the investors, the people who cleaned the ponds, who harvested the shrimp, who peeled the shrimp, everybody was unemployed suddenly. And that disease got all the way around the world and just wiped out shrimp production. And so now shrimp production and buying shrimp, live shrimp from other producers, incredibly restricted now. Everything is tested, everything is certified. You can't even make a move without a certification, without a test. And so we're as paranoid as you can imagine. Because I don't know if any of you have cultured live algae, but it can be contaminated so easily just by stuff coming in from the air. You know, like our aquariums get things that come in from the air. You know, there's diatoms in the air, there's spores, there's algae just drifting. I'm breathing it in right now. And you know, it's globally, it's up in the stratosphere and it just settles on continents. And so we go to great lengths to compartmentalize what we do. We restrict personnel where people can go, and we go from there because we want to be successful and we don't want to contaminate. You know, it's just like anybody in an operating room in a hospital. You know, you just can't walk in and start breathing everywhere on things. Or, you know,
wow, Chad, you're gonna make people paranoid now.
I had that same problem, and I stopped trying to grow it because I didn't know what I was growing anymore. I kept my culture kept on crashing, and then it got looking weird. And I'm like, I don't even want to put this in my fish tank.
Right. And you know what? We're all Same with corals, people dip their corals. I don't care if they come from a quarantine facility. I'm still dipping my corals.
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah.
you can't assume that everybody's stuff is clean. And we can't have flatworms and bugs and things eating our, can't have it. So
If it's on a plug, it's coming off.
yeah, right. Exactly. So it's the same thing with corals and people that bring in corals and import corals. They quarantine those things like they do with fish. And you just take it to the next level because you have to
Yeah.
check the biological aspect of what you do. And also we want our animals to survive. We don't want them to just die. Which is really
We invest a lot of money in it.
right. And these are living things. We want to take care of them. We want them to,
Right.
we don't want them to get eaten by a pest.
Nope.
Good topic.
It sounds
it is.
impossible to me. I mean, I culture things in like algae in like 1 gallon jugs, and going from a petri dish to a gallon is a month-long process. How do you go
Right.
from a petri dish to 100,000 gallons, or how many?
Yeah, exactly. It's tricky. It is very tricky. We use a lot of disinfectant. We pasteurize our equipment, or sorry, we hot bath our equipment. So we'll put it, or it's actually called a hot room. So we have a room that's full of moisture and it's very hot, and we disinfect equipment in this room. We also pasteurize our water. 160 degrees kills everything. We also use isopropyl alcohol. Anytime we connect a tube to a culture, we isopropyl alcohol everything. We wear gloves and just disinfect our hands, and then we could make connections. We do a lot of our algae inoculations from petri dish to the little flasks, those little Erlenmeyer flasks.
Yeah.
A base and a neck. We do that all under what is called a laminar flow hood. And so any air that's coming into that hood is being vacuumed out. And so everything is going upwards. All the air, any contaminants are vacuumed out while we inoculate, our next size container. And then we go into carboys, and then from the carboys, we can inject those into our multi-thousand gallon, ponds.
I'd love to see
It's-
y'all's facility.
I know,
I
right?
wish that I could do video tours and in-person tours. I wish, but I can't even promote it. I can't even show you pictures of our facility. Ah,
Yeah. Hey.
It's
Hey.
just all that. Well, so even with all that precaution, do you start over each time? I mean, can you keep the same culture going for years?
Yeah, so we do get contamination from time to time, and we take care of that. We bleach systems, we start over, we get new equipment, we clean equipment, things like that. But if we were ever to have a catastrophe where everything got contaminated, we have business interruption insurance. We also have a backup source of our phytoplankton. All the phytoplankton that we carry is held in a laboratory in Connecticut. I think it's in Connecticut, Milford, Connecticut, at the Bigelow. It's called Bigelow. And they keep individual algae strains in cultures in, like level 4 biosecurity hazmat facilities. This is like viral. It's very similar to like how viruses and bacteria are held.
Yeah.
So this is like our backup. This is the bank. You know how there's seed banks? This is an algae bank. And so
That's cool.
expensive to buy a live culture from these guys, but you're guaranteed to get only that one species and nothing else.
Wow.
I have a question about the freezing of the phytoplankton in the ice cubes. So when you store this, you store it in the freezer, but freezers have a problem with other cross contamination of food and smells and stuff like that. If you've ever not cycled your ice maker ice for a while, it kind of has an off-putting taste. So will these ice cubes, do you need to take some extra precaution, maybe vacuum seal them before you put them in the freezer or
That's a
something?
great,
That's
yeah.
what-
Yeah,
That's what I was
absolutely.
thinking of doing.
Absolutely, yeah. Vacuum seal them, get them into a freezer bag, something that, provides that extra level for sure. That's good. That's a good one. Good
Okay.
topic.
All right,
Yep. That was a good one, Michael.
Thank
Yes,
you,
it
sir.
was. Does anybody have anything else they want to do? I know some of you are, we've lost some people. In fact, that must be present to win for the raffle.
I'm sad they left because I'm gonna donate another $100 gift. We're gonna do two. And I'm bummed that
Whoa.
people left. You gotta stay to the end.
Gotta stay.
They're lost.
So are we ready to do a raffle here? Then right before I do a raffle, let me do a reminder. This coming Saturday from noon to 1, we will be at the Coral Station for our first ever hourly gathering. And premium members get 25% off Reef Nutrition, and there's other discounts that are being offered. And then there's a raffle at 1 o'clock. The Coral Station is donating a coral towards the club raffle, and we're raffling products that have been donated by other companies.
Man, I'll be out of town.
Oh, that's
And-
sad. I'm sorry.
And my leg, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to miss this one.
Okay. And
We'll be
I've
there.
got a little bucket that I'm gonna drop names in, so let me call out who's dropping in the bucket. We've got Hans. I see you. Michael, and I put your last name on there.
Drex, you can go and sign off.
Tanya, here goes your name. Wait a minute. Carol. Nick. And Drex. Did I miss anybody who's still here?
No, there should have been another direction there too.
You are so lucky as it is. You do not-
Exactly. You always win.
I know, isn't he crazy?
Yes, that's why I said you can go on and sign off now.
Well, and Chad has said that there are 2 winners. So even if the first name gets drawn is Drex, like usual,
If I win twice, I'll give it up.
and the first winner is Michael. Woo, 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 woo.
Woohoo,
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Here comes our second winner. Serena
Yay,
Martin here. I'm not looking. And our second one is Nick, Iowa KTD. Woo!
Sweet.
Hey,
Hey, thank you.
Ah,
Appreciate it.
That's Nick.
Congratulations, Nick.
Yeah,
Thank
right
you.
on, man. Yeah, congrats. And these are electronic gift cards. You can only use them in our online shop. You can use a portion of it towards shipping, and it has no expiration date. So Lisa, you can just send me full names and emails. That's all, and I will issue those cards tomorrow.
Awesome.
uh,
And Nick and Michael, I don't have, and Michael, I'm not sure your user ID, and maybe it is your name.
it is.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's easy. Then I'll be able to find you on the forum.
I'm-
And so I'll message you so that it makes it easy for you to reply back. So that way I can get your information even tonight. And that way we can get it over to Chad right away. So he can get those out to you right.
Sweet. See, I don't
Yeah.
always win.
Well, Sonia had the mute key on you. You just didn't know it.
wow.
Congratulations. Awesome.
Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Congratulations, winners.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna
Awesome.
shop, so.
And I just wanted to put out there, if any of you guys are Dallas Cowboys fans, good luck this weekend. I'm a diehard Niners fan, but I like the Cowboys as well. So it's okay if my Niners lose.
It's gonna be a tough one.
It's going to be a battle. It'll be a good one.
Yeah.
I'm just glad it's not Tom Brady.
Oh, you hear the latest?
Wait,
No.
I'm gonna go
I
ahead.
think
and stop
he's
the
going to the
recording.
Raiders.
I'm gonna stop the recording though. We're welcome to keep talking, but let me find the recording button.